You think you know the giants of history? Think again. There were 7 figures whose shadows stretch across millennia, whose innovations secretly steered humanity, yet their names are whispered only in forgotten texts. Get ready to discover the covert architects of our modern world. Imagine a world where medicine is still superstition, where global exploration is impossible, all because a few brilliant minds were erased from history. We're about to pull back the curtain on 7 unsung heroes, individuals whose profound, often anonymous contributions are the bedrock of our modern civilization. You won't believe who they are. Look around you. The glowing screen you're watching this on, the buildings reaching for the sky, the very food that sustains us. We credit the big names, the Einsteins, the Edisons, the Steve Jobs. But what if I told you the true foundations of our world were laid by people you've never heard of? That history as you know it is just the highlight reel. And the real story, the one that truly matters, is hidden in the margins. Today, we're not just reading the footnotes, we're making them the headline. We're peeling back the layers of time to reveal the secret architects, the unsung heroes whose work made everything we see possible. Who really built this world? Let's find out. Our first stop is a smoky, mysterious world of alchemy. While we often picture wizards trying to turn lead into gold, the reality is far more profound. Meet Jabir ibn Hayyan, a figure from the 8th century often called the father of chemistry. While his peers were lost in mysticism, Jabir was pioneering this scientific method. He wasn't just mixing potions, he was perfecting processes like distillation, crystallization, and evaporation. These weren't magic tricks, they were the building blocks of modern science. Every time you take a precisely formulated medication, or use a new synthetic material, you are experiencing the ripple effect of his work. He transformed alchemy from a mystical art into a practical, experimental science. He gave us the language and the tools to understand the very matter that makes up our universe, laying the groundwork for everything from pharmacology to materials engineering. He's the alchemist whose legacy is not gold, but the very substance of our modern world. From the lab, we travel to the open sea. Long before GPS and satellite imagery, there was Abu Abdullah al-Idrisi. In the 12th century, at a time when maps were often more myth than reality, al-Idrisi undertook a monumental task for King Roger II of Sicily. He spent 15 years interviewing thousands of travelers, merchants, and explorers, cross-referencing their accounts to create the most accurate world map of his era, the Tabula Rogeriana. This wasn't just a drawing, it was a data project of epic proportions. He meticulously documented trade routes, cultural landscapes, and physical geography, correcting centuries of errors from previous cartographers. His work didn't just help sailors navigate, it fundamentally changed how humanity viewed the planet. It connected cultures, fueled global trade, and set the stage for the age of exploration. Every time you open a map on your phone, you're tapping into a tradition of precision and curiosity that al-Idrisi championed nearly 1,000 years ago. He was a silent navigator who didn't just map the world. He helped to create the interconnected global society we live in today. Now, let's journey to a time before computers, to the very concept of computation itself. We all know Ada Lovelace as the first computer programmer, but the seeds of the digital age were sown even earlier, in the abstract minds of thinkers you've never been taught about. Consider the ancient Indian grammarian Panini. From the 4th century BCE, he created a grammar for Sanskrit with 3,959 rules. It was so logical, so systematic and metagrammatical, that it's been compared to a modern computer programming language. His work in defining linguistic structures, using variables and recursive rules, was a form of abstract information processing. It demonstrated that complex systems, even language, could be broken down into a finite set of logical rules. This is the foundational mindset of all programming. While he wasn't designing a machine, he was designing a system for processing information, a kind of proto-algorithm. The logical elegance of his work secretly influenced the development of formal language theory, a cornerstone of computer science. He's a forgotten coder, the mind who, thousands of years before the first line of code was written, helped conceptualize the very logic that would one day power our digital world. From the abstract world of logic, we turn to the very soil beneath our feet. Think about this. Every great empire, every civilization, stands on a foundation of food. And for millennia, that foundation was incredibly fragile. But then came individuals who became agricultural architects. Long before Norman Borlaug's Green Revolution, there were anonymous innovators in ancient societies. Like the farmers of the Andes, thousands of years ago, they didn't just plant seeds, they were genetic engineers. They domesticated the wild potato, a small, bitter tuber, and through careful, multi-generational selective breeding, they cultivated over 3,000 different varieties. They developed potatoes for different altitudes, climates, and soil types. creating a resilient food source that could withstand droughts, frosts, and pests. This wasn't just farming. It was a sophisticated scientific endeavor that secured the food supply for the Inca Empire and, eventually, the world. When the potato was introduced to Europe, it ended cycles of famine and fueled a population boom. These unknown farmers were the original biohackers, the architects of our global food security. Their quiet, patient work in the high mountains of South America is still feeding humanity today. Next, we move from the fields to the cities, which for most of history were deadly places. Before we understood germs, sanitation was at best an afterthought, but some visionaries saw what others couldn't. Decades before Jon Snow famously traced a cholera outbreak to a water pump in London, there were sanitary seers advocating for public health. Take the Roman engineers. We admire their aqueducts as marvels of construction, but they were also revolutionary public health projects. The Romans understood, on an intuitive level, that clean water was essential and that wastewater needed to be removed. They built over 150 miles of aqueducts to bring fresh water into Rome and constructed the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewage systems. While they didn't know about bacteria, their engineers acted on the theory that filth bred disease. They were often mocked for the enormous expense, but their obsession with sanitation and civil engineering saved countless lives and allowed their cities to grow to sizes previously unimaginable. These anonymous engineers were the unsung heroes of urban living, the sanitary seers, whose work made the modern metropolis possible. A society is more than just food and buildings. It's held together by ideas. Ideas about how to live together, how to govern, and what it means to be a good person. While we credit famous philosophers like Plato or Locke, many foundational social structures were designed by anonymous groups or early thinkers. Consider the early Stoics in ancient Greece, like Zeno of Citium. Before Stoicism became the philosophy of Roman emperors, it started as a radical idea in the marketplace of Athens. These early Stoics developed a framework for personal ethics and social responsibility that was accessible to everyone, not just the elite. They argued for a cosmopolitan view, that we are all citizens of the world, bound by a common humanity and a duty to one another. These subtle, grassroots ideas about self-control, duty, and universal kinship seeped into Roman law and governance. They formed a philosophical foundation for concepts like natural law and human rights, ideas that would echo centuries later in the documents that formed modern democracies. These were the philosophical architects, whose quiet contemplation in a public square shaped the moral and legal fabric of our societies. Finally, what is the single most powerful tool humanity has ever invented? It's not fire or the wheel. It's writing. The ability to transmit complex ideas across time and space. But who invented the alphabet? The answer is, we don't know for sure. It wasn't a king or a famous sage. It was likely a group of Semitic-speaking workers in ancient Egypt, around 1850 BCE. They were exposed to complex Egyptian hieroglyphs, but needed a simpler system to write their own language. So, they adapted the Egyptian symbols, but with a revolutionary twist. Instead of a symbol representing a whole word or idea, each symbol would represent a single sound. This was the birth of the alphabet, a linguistic link that was an absolute game-changer. It democratized literacy. You no longer needed to memorize thousands of symbols, you just needed to learn a couple dozen. This seemingly small innovation, created by anonymous workers, spread across the world, evolving into the Phoenician, Greek, Latin, and eventually the very letters I'm using to write the script. Every book you read, every message you send is a direct descendant of their brilliant, anonymous idea. So, what do we see when we connect these 7 figures? An alchemist, a navigator, a logician, a farmer, an engineer, a philosopher, and a scribe. Separately, their contributions are monumental, but together they reveal a profound truth. Progress isn't a series of lightning bolts from a few famous geniuses. It's a vast, interconnected web of human ingenuity, woven by countless hidden hands. The chemist's new material is useless without the navigator's trade route to transport it. The engineer's city can't survive without the farmer's resilient crops. And none of their knowledge could be passed down without the scribe's alphabet. Their isolated contributions interwove to create the very fabric of our civilization. History is an unfolding mystery. For every name we know, there are 1,000 more waiting to be discovered, their stories buried in dusty archives or encoded in the very tools we use every day. This forces us to rethink what progress really is. It's not just about the big breakthroughs that make the headlines. It's about the quiet, foundational work, the patient experimentation, the meticulous documentation, the thankless task of building a system that will benefit generations you'll never meet. So the next time you see a modern marvel, I challenge you to look deeper. Think about the invisible network of ingenuity that made it possible. Appreciate the quiet work happening all around you today. The lab technician, the open source coder, the city planner. They are the unsung heroes of our time. laying the groundwork for the future. And who knows what other hidden histories we've yet to uncover. That's a story for another day. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the shadows of history. If you enjoyed uncovering these stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we have a lot more hidden worlds to explore together. See you next time.